In the first decade of its existence, the early Islamic Empire expanded with high velocity, securing central religious sites like the Kaaba in Mecca. Within those same 10 years, the Caliphate's momentum carried them through the gates of Jerusalem, signaling a seemingly unstoppable expansion. But there was one target that stood firm against this wave: Constantinople, the massive, fortified capital of the Roman Empire. This wasn't a purely territorial interest. A prophetic hadith promised paradise and forgiveness of all sins to the first army to attack the Roman capital. This religious promise transformed a strategic military goal into a spiritual mission that would haunt Islamic military policy for the next 8 centuries. The city's geography was a nightmare for any invader. It sat on a triangular peninsula with 3 sides protected by deep sea, leaving only a single narrow strip of land vulnerable to an approaching army. Across that single land bridge stood the Theodosian Walls, a complex network of triple-layered masonry and brick, fronted by a deep, water-filled trench. In an era of ladders and wooden rams, these overlapping barriers were immune to the standard siege tactics of the medieval world. To fulfill the prophecy, an army would have to overcome a unique combination of maritime isolation and the most sophisticated defensive engineering on the planet. The first major attempt, or Hamla, was launched by the Umayyad Caliph Muawiya. He sent his infantry directly at the land walls, led by high-ranking veterans of the early conquests, including Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. But the Roman engineering held. The height of the inner walls and the deep, flooded trenches completely neutralized the infantry assault, forcing a retreat after days of heavy fighting. During the siege, Abu Ayyub fell ill. At his request, his men carried his body under the cover of night to be buried at the very foot of the Roman walls, a symbolic claim that he had come as close as possible to the city. The message was clear: courage alone would not crack these walls. Future attempts would require a total reimagining of how to conduct a siege. Muawiya pivoted. If the land walls were invincible, he would use a massive navy to strike the city's seawalls instead. But the Romans were prepared. They stretched a massive iron chain across the Golden Horn waterway, barring the fleet. As the ships slowed to face it, the Romans unleashed Greek fire, a liquid incendiary sprayed from tubes onto enemy decks. The fire's chemical composition was terrifying. It didn't just burn wood, it floated and raged directly on the surface of the water, and attempting to douse it only caused the flames to spread faster. Thousands of sailors were lost. The financial cost crippled the treasury. This drain sparked internal rebellions, eventually leading to the dynasty's replacement by the opposites. The Roman combination of iron chains and chemical fire was so effective that for several centuries, no Islamic empire attempted to approach the city again. 700 years later, after the rise and fall of several dynasties and the devastation of the Mongol invasions, a new power emerged in the West: the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Bayezid launched the 3rd major siege, surrounding the city for 4 years. But even 7 centuries later, his navy was still completely blocked by that same iron chain across the Golden Horn. 20 years after that failure, Sultan Murad returned with a massive force and early forms of artillery to try once more. Despite having absolute numerical superiority, Murad was stopped by the same 2 ancient obstacles: the triple-layered land walls and the chain. 800 years of military evolution had passed, yet the Roman defense system from the 5th century remained impenetrable. Sultan Murad returned home a broken man. The ultimate ambition of his reign had been stopped by stone and water. This generational failure became an obsession for his son, Prince Mehmed, who spent his childhood studying the exact mechanics of why his father and the empires before him had failed. At age 21, Mehmed realized that conventional infantry and naval tactics would never be enough to breach a fortress of this magnitude. He turned to a radical solution: a massive 26-foot bronze cannon called silica, designed to deliver a force of impact that no medieval masonry was built to withstand. Those 8 centuries of crushing defeat served as the catalyst for this invention. For the first time, a weapon existed that was capable of physically shattering the Theodosian walls. That story begins in part 2.